Thanks for stopping by the video, Pestily. I greatly appreciate it. I know you're watching. There's no way you wouldn't watch this. I'm way too popular if you did not watch this video. But all jokes aside, the main thing, if Pestily does actually watch this video by chance, I actually have a pretty decent idea that hopefully could maybe be passed on to Nikita, and maybe they already have this plan in the first place. I'm playing a decent chunk of Path of Exile 2, and I've been just doing hardcore only. I do the hardcore trade league, but as you know, in Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2, we have hardcore solo self-found, then we have the standard league, then standard solo self-found. Again, this information is relevant for Tarkov, mostly because, like Nikita said, I think before, they were planning to have the ability to, for one account, to have multiple different characters, just like you can in Path of Exile 2. As you can see, I have, a bunch of different, leveled characters and different acts and everything that all have different items. The reason I bring that up is because if you create a new character, you can see that I have the standard mode, solo self-found. Now this makes it to where you cannot party up with other people, and you have to find all loot on your own. And you have a hardcore mode, which also has that ability. Now I think Tarkov could benefit greatly from this because I think a lot of people are having a very big conundrum when it comes down to found and raid items for their hideout. Tarkov should basically have a hardcore mode. What people do when they play hardcore or have a hardcore character is everything is found in raid. They can buy stuff, I think, from traders still potentially, or they just have to simply find everything and they can't buy anything from traders, which is pretty intense. Now, this would be very situational, and obviously it's a very new style of game for you to change up Tarkov this way. And so I thought of a couple different options for this potentially. So option 2 might be the better option, specifically because of matching. Matching is probably the most difficult part about having two different leagues because people will be scattered throughout the different types of gameplay. With a game like Path of Exile 2 or Path of Exile 1, it doesn't matter as much because most of the content that you're going through is mostly PvE, where this, could potentially involve a good amount of PvP still. I'm going to go through this pretty quick because I think option 2 is more reasonable, but option 1 is kind of structured like Path of Exile 2. I don't think that this will be the best option because I think there would just be too many leagues in general. So you could have a standard league for option 1. The hideout does not need to be found in raid. It's basically just a normal wipe that we're all used to. Flee is accessible at 15. You can buy and trade. It's there at the start of wipe. And then if you wanted to do a standard solo self-found league, that's what SSF stands for. Hideout does need to be found in raid. Normal access to traders. No ref. No access to the flea market, and no parties are allowed, only solo play. So you can still queue as like a scav, but there is only solo parties allowed. So if you wanted to like team up with the PMC or something, it'd feel a lot more natural in the game instead of just, mowing through everybody. But again, it would have to stay true to solo self-found, which means that you could only find things in the game and trading with traders just to make sure that you still have access to a few things. So it's not generally easy, but it's just a little bit harder and focuses a little bit more around solo play in a standard league. So I kind of went a little crazy with the hardcore league rules and things like that, mostly just because, again, it's supposed to be hardcore. I kind of took a little inspiration from Path of Exile 2 again. The normal hardcore league, the hideout does have to be found in raid. We have normal access to traders after level 20, and you can trade in this league still. So normal access to flea market at level 20. So it pushes that back a little bit further. No ref accessibility. The other thing I forgot to mention too is that ref currency is only transferable through standard league. So only this one option. So that means ref is not available, and so it does not exist in any other league other than the standard base league. Next, you do not start with any items in your inventory at all. So no money, no rubles, no currency at all, only cosmetics, and probably also cases. So if you have like a scav junk box with unheard, or any like gamma container, things like that, you'll still have those items, as well as the stash size will be normal, because of what edition that you purchased. But you literally will start with absolutely nothing, not even a knife, nothing. You start with 0. Again, the reason this works out pretty well is because you don't have access to any traders until after level 20. And the reason why that is because currently, once you hit level 20, you're then placed into a matching where you have your match with people that are 20 plus. So this would make a lot of sense because nobody else could really be trading anything until they hit level 20. And so you'd only be placed with people that are also just trying to find things around in the game to try to survive. And again, this would be pretty cool because you would eventually get access to like trading and things like that later on, but you would probably work a little bit more with other players instead of just trying to kill everybody that you see. The next thing I thought of is you would lose like 50% of the experience that you currently had in that specific level when you die. So the example I gave here is if you're level 50, you have 200,000 XP in that current level, you would lose 100,000 XP upon death. So that is a pretty brutal amount of XP, but you would have to calculate when you would want to take a fight and when you would want to stay alive a lot longer. The reason why that is because you can never lose enough experience to push you to the previous level. Here we can still party with friends. Scavs are unavailable in hardcore, so you would not be able to ever run a scav. And yeah, we'll move on to solo self-found here. Now again, solo self-found, everything does need to be found in raid. No access to traders ever. You can only have access to fence where you can buy and sell items. So you'd buy at a really, really high price for something that you're kind of looking for, maybe a gun or something, and you can still sell items there. It's kind of like how you can buy and sell things with gold in Path of Exile 2. You never have access to the flea market. Everything always will need to be found. Again, same thing. You don't start with anything other than cosmetics. I'd probably say only fence after level 20. Mostly just because, again, we want to make sure that we're matching people with others where they can buy and sell. Same rules here. Lose 50% of XP. You can't go below. You can never party with friends. Only solo queue for solo self-found. Scavs are unavailable. And again, stash size stays the same. Now, moving on to option 2 is probably a lot more doable as far as like a programming sense. Matchmaking is probably a lot more realistic with option 2. I think that trying to duplicate things a lot like Path of Exile 2 is probably a little unreasonable because of the amount of coding and again matching. It's just not the same game. So I think option 2 is a pretty good middle ground for veteran players to have a much newer experience, much more enjoyable kind of forced experience with other people that are potentially doing the exact same thing. For option 2, we have the standard league where it's just normal, no found in raid for hideout. You get traders, you get access to fleet at 15, literally a straight up normal wipe. Again, still here, ref currency is only transferable from arena to a standard league character. And then you just have the one other league, which is hardcore league. Hideout has to be found in raid. Normal access to traders after level 15. I'm going to say level 20 here. I think it should stay the same there because I just think that matching part just kind of makes it much more enjoyable because they already have it set up for level 20s. If you have Unheard Edition or Edge of Darkness, all reputation for all traders starts at 0 regardless instead of plus 0.2. So you still have to kind of do those tasks to grind for that reputation. Again, no ref, no access to flea market because most things are encouraged to be found. Do not start with any items, again, other than cosmetics and cases. And again, we don't want any access to traders until later on because we don't want people selling those cases for money. Stash size is normal. And then we have the same rule of losing XP. I was going to say you probably can party up to like trios or duos. I would say maybe duos, but I don't know. This would have to probably be a general consensus of what people think is potentially fair. I think a 1v2 scenario still can be kind of fun if you're a pretty skilled player, especially since you're trying to find a bunch of stuff. So if you could find things that are much better than what the other players have, then it could be a pretty even fight still. 3 people might be kind of pushing it, so I would say maybe just 2 players most for parties. And again, no scavs, and scav AI is a little bit harder in general. This option too, like I said, would be a lot more manageable because then you wouldn't have such a crazy split player base between a bunch of different types of game modes. I think that you could keep the matching relatively the same from standard league to hardcore league. For, if you had 4 different types of game modes, I feel like it would be a little tough you'd probably have to decrease the amount of players that are able to load into like a specific map or make the map smaller. And so that just sounds like way too much crazy work. So again, option 2 is a lot more enjoyable, I think, for both programming and for players regardless. Just an idea though, I really hope that for one, Pestily, you're watching this video. Thanks for watching, Pestily. Appreciate it. He's probably not going to watch this video. But it's just some interesting ideas. Again, I finally am able to make a little bit more content right now. So I should be able to kind of push videos out a little more often. They might be a little sporadic throughout the week until I get a good schedule. But again, you guys, as always, thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think about if having like a hardcore and a standard league would be something you guys would be interested in. I think that it's a lot more refreshing, again, especially for people that have been playing for a long time. A lot of people would probably return back to the game. Like and sub if you want to, though, and have a good one, you guys. See you later.